everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday afternoon here on Kobold Press. I'm your littlest red dot, here with a friend. I get to hang out with a friend today, as well as all of you friends. If you're in chat, thanks for being here. Stick around, grab a friend, hang out, because we're gonna talk
friend
all things.
Time.
Yeah, friend time. It's friend time today. I feel like I need like a theme song on a ukulele. Yeah, so we'll
Friend time with Dot. Boop,
boop, boop, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. And of course, it is post-holidays, so if you did the holiday thing, I hope you survived the food and the family, because we're coming to you from the past?
The past beyond.
The past beyond.
The
yes.
void.
The void. We're here, but we're very excited you're with us, so come hang out. And you know what? This show is really just me babbling without my friends. So speaking of my friends, Cord, welcome to Kobold Chats. Introduce yourself.
Hi, it's me, Cord. I also go by Mythematic on the internet. You can follow me on the things that have that name. I am a dungeon master. I am a world builder and a role player and voice actor here on Twitch. I've been role playing in and around the TTRPG space for the past 6 years.
I was about to say, you were here before I was here, because I
yeah.
met you when I was like, hey, please let me play on everybody's door, yeah.
Yeah. I think 2015 is when Mythematic Inception, the seed of Mythematic and the channel and everything started. I've done everything between voice acting in video games, role playing in tabletop games, and I still do that and always have, and also role play in which is sort of like LARPing in video games. You sort of like recently I've been doing it in Red Dead, but I've played Ark, Atlas, Conan, GTA. I've played a whole slew of different video games and role play, and I've played a whole bunch of different tabletop RPGs like D&D. Of course, Cypher System, Numenera, which is sort of the Cypher System, the Star Wars Genesis system as well.
Oh, you've got a lot of like narrative
whole...
and drama based.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
That's my fave. Yeah. So much stuff, as well as like Fiasco and Brave New World, which is super old, and Savage Worlds and things like that. So I have a lot. I've got a lot of. I'm a role player and storyteller through and through, and that's what I love to do, and that's what I love to provide to the world is story. And create it on the fly with collaboratively in a safe space with a bunch of friends and new, old, and strangers. It's always that's just the magic of improv.
Yeah, well, you're in good company because everybody here knows I talk about storytelling. What some would say too much, I say there's no such thing.
There's
no such thing as too much. So always in good company. And like I said, when I rolled in, I feel like maybe we've played together. I know, obviously, we played together in the past because we had Courts of the Shadow Fae for Pete's sake. But like, we've done a few things, and actually, we
did the Renaissance French thing.
Oh,
I was on Encounter Roleplay. I was
That was my first interaction with you and Mike. I remember that. I came on. They asked me to guest for the day, and they're like, they're in this French campaign, and they're like really French, and I was like, bet.
Say no more.
Max bet.
Yeah.
And I showed up in like a massive wig and like totally French. Anyways, it was awesome. Ridiculous. But yeah, I
great first impression.
Yeah, right. Knocked it out of the park, gang. That's yeah. So it's I think it's really interesting because a lot of people come into tabletop RPing in a variety of different ways. Did you start here, or like where did you start telling stories?
What a lovely phrase. What a wonderful phrase. I started telling stories. What a cool way to put that. I want to say D&D. D&D second or advanced Dungeons and Dragons for a couple of weeks. This is right when 3.5 dropped, and then 3 dropped, and then I got into 3, third edition, and then 3.5 a couple of years later. And then 4th happened, and then now 5th again.
Right.
And just take a small break. But I got my start in storytelling through tabletop, and then I think after that I went into stage. It could be the other way around.
Interesting. Okay.
It could be the other way around. I was a musical theater major in college and did a lot of I did every high school performance I could. And like at one point in high school, there was a rule that was like you can't play a sport and be in the plays because they sort of overlap.
They did that to me too.
Yeah, and that was a new thing. And we were like, and then I was like, I'm not gonna play lacrosse anymore. Sorry, this was fun, but so I dropped lacrosse, which I really liked because the reason why I really liked that, I think it was because of just the stick handling and the hand-eye coordination and being able to defend someone who's swinging and poking you with a spear is a lot like when you are when you are trying to be in a offense going through defense. They're going to try to poke at you where your armor isn't and where your pads aren't, and you need to use your stick to block it away. So there was a lot of like similarities between lacrosse and medieval combat that I really liked, and I think that was why I really enjoyed lacrosse and why I did it. But then they were like, you can't do both, and I was like, oh, fine, I'll just go back on the stage.
Yeah, I did this. They basically were like, you can't cheer and do drama, and I was like, okay, well then I won't cheer.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
So I was like, bye. And then I went to band, which I had done in middle school and all that jazz, but I came back to it in high school, and then I was a marching band girl through and through.
Nice.
But yeah. So okay, well that's cool. So you, I guess some would consider that early to start kind of your storytelling journey, and it's obviously
like 9 or 12, whichever one was first. I think 12 was D&D, and I think maybe 9 was actually stage. But yeah, my dad owned a sports store, like a sports memorabilia store that then was turning into a. He's like, I've got this guy coming in teaching how to play Dungeons and Dragons next week. And I was like, okay, what is that? And he's like, well, I don't know. He's like, it's a cool thing you should try. And I was like, okay. And of course he knew about what D&D was, sort of like through living through the 70s of in its inception. And he's always been a sports guy, so he never got into it.
Right.
But he was like, this could be something fun for you. And then
cool.
Me and my brother, my twin and I went and played D&D, and I played a wizard, level 1 wizard, and like it was really bad in 2nd edition where you have one spell and then you need to have something that you can fight with. So I think I had magic missile, and you could cast one spell and then you need to fight. Yep. So I was at level 1. So I cast magic missile, and then I would run in there with a dagger or run away. But
the days when running away was a viable option.
Yeah, I mean, it's still that's a thing we could talk about. It's still a viable option.
I say the same thing as a GM. I can't recommend it enough. Running is okay.
Run away. Keep the story going. Otherwise, you're ending the story.
Yeah, right.
You don't want that.
And I got to pay for new character art.
Yeah, then you got to pay for character art. Exactly. Do production a favor and run away.
So did you come to Twitch because of tabletop RPGs, or did you find your way here? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I thought what did I see? I think I saw Roleplay, Rollplay, with me, JP, and the whole gang playing. I think it was Swan Song, and I was like, I can do this. It was really cool. It was not like I can do this better, but it's like I can do this. I can do this as well. This is something I want to do. So I was like, all right, and I grabbed a bunch of my musical theater major friends from college and started playing a game on here called The King's Men, and that was actually set in the world of Spellwind, or the Spellwind world that I have is that same sort of world in the main city of Evervale. They were playing as the guards of Evervale, and it was super cool, and we could talk more about that later, but it was super cool, and then that's when I got the attention of a new channel that was coming, and that was called Encounter Roleplay. Will got in touch with me and said, hey, you should come and check out Encounter Roleplay, and also come check out, we're starting up in like a couple weeks, come check us out, and we'd love to have you as a guest. So I was like, all right, sure. And then I went and did that, and it was awesome, and I loved it, and found a family within the tabletop world. And yeah, so it's that's where I started to then put all of my eggs tabletop-wise into Encounter Roleplay, and then I would start doing and figuring out other content and video games on my own channel. There is a reality where I could have just always pushed forward on my Mythematic channel, Tabletop. But that's a different story, and not the story that is being told now. So yeah, it was super super cool. I'm able to now separate like my tabletop stuff with a bunch of my friends on different channels and things, and then I have my own channel for character growth and character building throughout different video games and stuff. And
I actually have been talking about doing in my community something similar because like now I just work for so many other places. It's like, when do I have time or energy to what I would consider properly produce on my own, you know? And so like I'm just like at this point I just
express
work
for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things I'm looking to do is just to add some content to my own channel. So I feel that deep in a personal way. So all of that later, you've gone from like point A to point B, and now Spellwind is over on Table Story.
Yes.
So what can you tell us? Obviously, I guess you can't spoil story, but tell us about Spellwind, the world, because this is a homebrew world of yours, right? Using 5e. Okay, cool. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so Spellwind is the setting that I'm creating, and you can find it on patreon.com/Spellwind to support it as I create it as we go, as I start to try, and because I have a lot of stuff up here, but I don't have a lot of stuff in the computer and stuff like that. So the Patreon is supposed to help me get onto that, but I have ADHD and it's very hard sometimes. But
ooh, I feel that they've watched my GM streams, which is like Dot opening tons of tabs and then like maybe writing 10 words and then playing over here in some book. Yeah, I feel that.
Exactly.
I feel that again.
And you're like, it's here. Don't worry about it. I'll get to it.
I'm feeling good about it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to keep production and creativity with an ADHD brain on a schedule.
Oh man, that is the truth.
Yeah, it's rough, but it's something I now know. But back to Spellwind. The Spellwind world is in a there's a planet called Hearth, Haearth, or Hearth, or whatever you want to pronounce it. But Hearth is how I pronounce it. It is actually it's a polarly locked planet. So the South Pole is always facing the sun. And it still spins, but it's always facing the sun. So it's the hottest point is South Pole. The coldest and farthest point away is the North Pole. So that makes a small band around the equator of this entire world habitable. There is the icy reaches to the north known as the Frostburn. And then there is the Burning Sands or the Scalding Sands down towards the south, which is also inhabitable desert. And of course, there's that entire gradient in between, which is where you can live. So there is a band of water around around this entire world, and a lot of unexplored areas, mainly for me and for other players and people who wanted to pick up material when I create it, because that's still something that I am doing. My goal for Spellwind is to create a reference book for people to have fun and enjoy the world itself. The cool things about Spellwind is, about the world and the setting of Spellwind, is the moon is a foreign moon from a distant celestial body somewhere else. It has crashed through the planet of Hearth once before, and there's been a divine intervention that has been able to fuse the world back together and has put it in this really weird geographical state and this cosmic orbit and everything like that because of that event. The moon, Geolune, is this large crystalline moon that is also shattered across and created a quantum arcane wind across all of Hearth. So Hearth, this polarly locked planet, also has a fifth element on it known as the Spellwind. Much like, and I think the best way for me to describe this, I just realized this is the best way for me to describe this. It's kind of like ley lines in Kobold Press, as well as the Iron Wind in Numenera.
Yes.
So if for those who are familiar with the Iron Wind, it's this very crazy, erratic, chaotic storm that, blows through the world of Numenera and shifts the alchemical makeup of different things. Ley lines in Kobold Press and or in Midgard are various motes and points of veins of arcane energy, and if you are close to one geographically, you will be able to then tap into those ley lines and create more and intense and wild magic. And that's sort of the same sort of thing that I have going here, which I just realized, like I just put two and two together. That's sort of where
It's
I
kind of
found
cool.
my inspiration.
I think
for
I always think of. Did you ever watch that show
the
Pirates
Spellwind.
of Dark Water?
I haven't.
Oh my god, very similar. Like there's this like black magical ichor that like shows up anywhere there's a body of water. And so it'll just it's a chaos. It's a dabble of chaos in your story basically, and I love that.
Yep.
That's
and
very cool.
And that's what they call me in Table Story now. Is I'm the GM of Chaos. 'Cause everybody has a DM name, and now mine's the DM of Chaos because of the Spellwind. So the way that works is. In Spellwind, when you cast a spell or do an arcane check or like if you do a spell, let's say let's do a magic missile. No, magic missile automatically hits. That doesn't make any sense. Let's do I don't know, burning hands. I think burning hands needs to be a save.
Yeah, it's a save. It's a check.
Yeah. So you would make your dexterity check because it's fire, and if you rolled a 1, then that would count as a critical, which means the Spellwind would take effect. The Spellwind has kicked up, and you can describe a positive outcome in the scene involving a titanic effect about about the spell. So, like you could, let's say, with that, it could be the Spellwind has kicked up, and maybe even has created thrust. So maybe you're being pushed back, or maybe you can use burning hands as a jet or something and take and lift off the ground or something.
Cool.
So something like that, and maybe the worst case scenario being they rolled a 20 or you failed an Arcana check, whichever way the GM wants to do it, then a catastrophic failure, depending, much like a critical miss, but way worse. Instead of it just being like, oh, you missed, haha, sorry, something much worse happens, whether you miss the spell or you burn 2 slots or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's always up to you, the GM, as well as the player, and it doesn't ever have to be the same sort of outcome. The arcane in this world, much like the weave in Forgotten Realms, and that world is in Hearth, and the setting of Spellwind is they can call it the weave, but it's still the wind. The wind and breeze is where people are plucking and pulling their this quantum ethereal wind and the arcane from. So that is how that works.
It's like a source point almost.
Yeah, it's like a source point. Exactly.
I like
and
the
sometimes
kind of shared
it blows,
narrative
and sometimes
of it
it's not
too.
there.
Yeah,
of course.
It's very what a great improviser of you to. It's totally a shared narrative point for both the GM and the player. It's really neat.
Yeah. That's sort of what I'm always about. Is my type of storytelling and GMing is always about collaboration and yes and like as much as I have played in a lot of games in the past 5 or 6 years and a lot of different shows, which are very much like a theme park. Please come in through. I've got to show you through this entire this 3-month ride of narrative that I have, rather than the sandbox where it's like, here's some tools and here's the sandbox. Enjoy.
Yeah,
and that's sort of how I am. I will throw some tools into the sandbox, and then I will just be there to watch the players play around, and then we could name different sand castles that we've all built, and we could name different rivers together. It's only my job is to help moderate and help narrate and curate the story for their characters, and which also then turns to me being a very improv-heavy GM.
Yeah, it's it's a tough skill set to be an improv GM. Because oftentimes people are like, but you don't prep. So you talked about how
Very little.
You prep differently. It's how I like to prep, because I also prep differently. Right? I don't take a lot of like written notes. Sometimes I do, but usually they come out in visuals or sticky notes or like tables and stuff. So like,
so you have ADD.
Right, precisely. What are the things that you do to prep? Right? Is it like, so I make a playlist for almost every campaign I run.
Yeah, that's great.
Right. So like, what does that look like? What does your process look like?
Ooh, what a lovely little thing. All right, so the process of, so with my ADHD, I have to take a lot of time to get into the zone of trying to find a place that is production. And prep. And usually that involves me going out and doing something very meticulous and small. What I've been doing lately, and unplugged from anything that gives me stimulus. So what I've been doing recently has been going out and creating a small little campfire. And during that time, just me doing that meditative act is able for me to just sort of clear my mind and then get into just thinking about it. And I'll put on probably Spotify or something, and some just sort of fantasy nerdy music, and just have that play and get me into the zone. And then from there, I think about why. A lot of what I do is why. Why does this exist here? Why does the Spellwind affect this? Why does the Spellwind work? Why and where has the Spellwind come from? Why is the moon a crystalline moon? Why is there a I have all these things, right? Like I want to buy a polarly locked planet. I want a large fractured crystalline moon, and I want the Spellwind. How and why do all those work?
Yeah.
And then I start to figure out narratives to the reasons about why all of them work, and how they all work together, and why probably through the same story they work, and things like that. So when I have a good basis of the sandbox built, then from there, it is looking at maybe the map and figuring out what conflicts there are. The first thing I built in the Spellwind world or Hearth is the Kingdom of Evervale. Evervale has a lot of mystery to it that is being slowly uncovered in the Spellwind game on Table Story. So I'm not going to say a ton of it, but it is an old city that was it was an elvish city that was taken over by humans, and there is now a king that calls himself the God King and has been in rule for hundreds of years. And so there's a lot of people, of course, who are questioning and also bend the knee to the God King and things like that.
Right.
A lot of the paladins and guards within Evervale are not unlike warlocks, where they get their magic from the God King. And there are, with that side of the coin, there has to be another side. So I've created the Entente, which are the rebellion class, and they are the freedom fighters and the guerrilla warfare creators trying to break this broken system of this corrupt God King, and these gross humans who are being gross humans. So it's pretty sweet. I've been really enjoying it. A lot of Spellwind, the show that we're doing right now over on Table Story, is two of the characters are from the Entente, and two of the characters are from the Sworn. So
little divide.
episode 1, yeah. So there's episode 1 things get pretty spicy pretty quickly, and we've been calling it the Spellwind Challenge. Just watch episode 1, and that's it. Good luck.
Challenge. Good luck. Yeah.
That's the challenge. Just watch the first episode. But that's been it's been a lot of fun, and that's it was kind of scary going into it, and this is not necessarily the question that you asked, which was my prep, but now we're going into a different thing.
You told your prep. I got my answer.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I got my answer.
And it's been really great because so the cast of Spellwind is Brad Wodo, my friend Meyer, Wax Steven, and Pumpkinberry, all producers, sans Meyer, all producers of Table Story, and they're all great, wonderful GMs on Table Story. So they all know and have a really great chemistry with one another. So starting episode 1 and playing since has been wonderful. It's also been a little nerve-wracking too, because more of my prep that I would do, I don't need to do, because I have 3 other, and if not 4 other GMs and talented creators just role-playing and telling a story on the same page that I'm on, which is super awesome. Yeah, so it's been really great, and it's been tons of fun. We've had a couple of interactions with the Spellwind.
Yep. Okay. So the chaos has shown up.
The chaos has shown up. There has been a slight spark that has then kicked up a very large forest fire, which is not necessarily ideal for what was going on, but it was handled, but it has left a scar on some of the players. Not necessarily a physical one, but it has left a smudge on the player's development or character development, which is really wonderful. So that's really good. When those things are presented, and then you have people who say yes and continue to use those moments and those offers as seeds to then grow into a wonderful story plant down the road is always great to have those those players who keep those moments with them rather than being like, oh, that forest fire came and went. We got rid of that encounter, but it's sticking around and still burning inside of them.
Still, yeah, that's very cool. It's like
so
that's deep role play and character work, which I think for any of us out here who watch, online tabletop content, we really strive for, right? It's for me, it's kind of different step in how I role play. I mean, I still bring, even when my home games, I still bring a lot of character, but there's something about I think that's the performer in us, right? The storyteller in us says, let me be in character.
Yeah.
But you've talked a lot here now about process and the amazing people you're with and kind of what the shared space looks like at your table. But I have to ask the daunting question. Have you brought some Kobold Press? Obviously, you have knowledge of Midgard because you're like a little encyclopedia over there, spouted some information. So, how are you as a GM kind of mixing the pot, or like using your tools, I guess you should say, your resources to help you out?
Yeah. So recently, I guess spoilers, not really spoilers. The characters recently met an NPC known as Brother Sykes, who is a void priest. And so I've been able to use some of the void magic and some of the void lore from that. Do I know where or what that means for the story, and also what void magic is in the world of Hearth and Spellwind? No, I don't. But I threw that in there because I thought it would be a fun offer for me later to then delve into what... Because there's a lot of cosmic mystery in the setting of Spellwind. It's not just, I think even in episode 1, we start, like, the first scene in episode 1 and the first visual you get as an audience member is the world. You see the planet and you see the moon orbiting the planet, and then we zoom in to the kingdom. And I think with the world, or Spellwind, and also Midgard and Kobold Press's lore is there is wonderful there's wonderful nuggets and things like ley lines, as well as the void magic that is able to work well within that. There is a lot of stuff that is yet to be discovered by the players of the show Spellwind that I am like sort of keeping under my hat, but there's a lot of celestial and cosmic entities that also sort of play into the world. Yeah. So, and of course, having void magic in there, I think plays right with, right in tandem with that celestial cosmic entity being. Yeah. And being able to just surpass what we would know as the arcane mathematics and the arcane code of whatever you want to say, and going right from that to it's like the quantum theory and quantum mathematics and of the arcane is the void magic, at least in my mind. Yeah. So it's like, if you're like, I'm going to do discrete mathematics, and I'm not like a huge mathematics person, but the past year in solitary COVID times has given me the YouTube algorithm a boost of quantum theory and stuff. Anyway, so like there's mathematicians who are X, Y, and Z, basic mathematicians, and people who learn about math, X, Y, and blah, blah, blah. I don't even know because I'm not even a mathematician. But I do know that there is like discrete math and things like that. And then there's and computing and things like that. And then there's quantum theory. And I feel like knowing how the reality and universe works, in my mind, there's the arcane, which is like mathematics, what wizards would learn through their spell books and things like that. And then there's people who want to know why and where that magic comes from, and why and where that magic, why and how it interacts with our reality. And that's where void magic comes in. Yep. And that's where I've been, at least that's where that's where I've been definitely starting to pluck some of that void magic in, because it's for those people who want to know more about not just mastering the arcane page, but knowing about why and where it's coming from.
Right, it's
and
like
how
source
it's
code.
interacting.
It's like I don't care about all this. I want to get to source code, you know.
Yeah, like I
yeah.
know how to do basic coding, but I want to know why and where coding has come from.
Right, why are
Yeah.
we building it this way? What is the causality like, right, of the way it works? That's cool. I'm playing a
just
Darrow
nerding out
right
about
now.
being a nerd.
It's just being nerdy. Yeah, I'm playing a Darrow right now, which is kind of like a crazy like underground dwarf, and they drive
with the
themselves
tentacle.
purposely, with the tentacle, purposely
Yeah.
insane, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're using void magic,
Yeah.
which is like it's just kind of chaos. Left with an excessive layer of chaos, but
Uh-huh.
it's been a lot of fun.
Which is order at some point.
Yeah, like at
If you
what
have
point
enough
is it?
chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point does it become order? So, but they're diving down deep into the empire of the ghouls. So we're going underground and all this jazz. But the causal. Okay, so one of the things we talk about a lot in Kobold Press, spoiler alert, behind the scenes, is how so much of our we always want our content, even if it's technically set within Midgard, to still be a piece of content that you can make your own.
Yes.
And I think this is a really great prime example of that,
Yes.
where you can take because I think void magic comes out of is that in
Deep magic?
I was about to say it's deep magic, right? It's like the whole collection of void magic is inside of deep magic, which is really just a compendium book, right? It's just a book full of spells, which
I
is
need
awesome,
so bad.
right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
much. And when especially which we both clearly pointed out, we have ADHD, which means or ADD, which means planning those things down to the nines is hard. And then also just reading through somebody else's text. Like
It's
I
hard.
oftentimes it's hard. Like a campaign reading is hard. So something that's like a reference material, you can just be like, hey, my world needs something, or I'm looking for a blank, and being able to use the content in a way that's malleable, I guess you could say, is really nice. I find it's very comforting to like know it's there,
Yeah. There's I think also like part of my process too is using because I rarely use books during my play, like during like reference books during my gameplay. But a lot of I think going outside and doing my ritual, but also sometimes I'll bring a book out, whether it is and it's so crazy how much I don't read the Dungeon Master's Guide because I think in 3.5 it wasn't so great. It
wasn't so great.
It wasn't so great and I just am now used to it being like that's the DMG. It has some basic rules in it, blah blah blah. But that's not true. There's so much world building stuff in the DMG for fifth. So like it's almost unopened ever because I've looked at it and went, this is great, and then I just never looked at it again because I keep forgetting. Right, yeah. But so I go out like now and I try to remember to bring the DMG and also something else and. Whether that is Wildmount and start looking through, because that really, like, reading through the Wildmount book really started to then spark my mind for, I can start putting my world down on paper. I could start doing, like, the way it's formatted is really inspiring. The same thing with also, I got, what did I get? I got Tomb of Beasts.
Oh, the Tome of Beasts.
Tome of Beasts.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I've been really flipping through this and enjoying it. I want to get the
one of my favorite things about the Tome of Beasts books, both the first one and I believe the second one, is that in the appendix it's organized by place.
Yeah.
So like desert creatures, water creatures, I guess they call them aquatic or like coastal, right?
Yep.
They break it down into which is
so good.
nice, nice. It doesn't get much better than that, especially when you're at least especially for Spellwind, it seems like you're basing a lot of it off the environment. The actual environment of the world seems very, very important. Very, very handy. Have you pulled any beasts yet to the table?
Did I? I've pulled. I don't know if I've pulled any beasts yet because we haven't. We're in because I got this I got this like a month or two ago, but the last month or two, we've sort of been fighting the Sworn. We've sort of been
it's all
spoilers.
Political, political.
Yeah, it's a lot of political stuff right now. But when they start venturing out of the kingdom, which may happen, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Gosh, don't you love that feeling where you're like, I don't know if they'll ever leave this city.
I don't know if they'll leave the city, the kingdom. Yeah, right now. Actually, I can't even tell you what they're doing right now because time is weird because I'm reporting to you from the future back past.
That's true. Yeah.
So we don't know, but yeah. So I don't know. I haven't put any beasts yet, but I'm very excited.
Well, I look forward to. I was about to say the past. As of the past, you have not. We shall hope for the future.
Yeah.
We shall hope for the future.
I haven't.
Yeah. Right.
That actually, you know what? That helps me a lot for this week, because they may or may not be breaking into a pretty big compound.
Oh.
And I don't know if I was going to put any beasts in, but that could be really cool to do.
Oh yeah, something that's like guarding the prisoner inside of it. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little accidental stumble across the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Like, they fall into the Sarlacc pit.
And yes, of course. Oops.
Whoops. Exactly. The trash compactor.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about a lot about your world. We've talked about kind of where you find inspiration, how you make your magic happen. But, as an improv GM, one of the things that I love are those moments where my characters bring a lot of drama. And there are a lot of, I guess, again, tools or things that I do to escalate that drama or
let
like continue. Yeah, let it happen. Like how do you facilitate, right? You used that word earlier, and I think that's a great word. What does the facilitation look like for you? Because one, we know players can run away with just like what I call the feedback loop from hell, where they're just arguing or they're just like in conflict over the same topic.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you move forward from that? Or is drama the thing that their like stable little party needs? So what is it? Tell me a little bit about the improv process at the table for you.
Yeah. So the improv process is hard to do because it's improv. But
Right.
I think when it comes to how I am starting to realize the strengths of how improv GMing works, and how to build different encounters as a improv GM, is I may present to you a situation, and I don't have an outcome. I don't have a solution in my head. There could be plenty, but I will give you. I want to. There's such great, wonderful examples, but I don't want to spoil much. The episode 1 is probably the best. Because it, like I said, it is 1. You're going to know in episode 1, and 2. It really kicked off the rest of the campaign. So, episode 1, they. Oh, geez, it's hard because it's still so spoilery.
Did they do something bad?
They were. It depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Like it. That's the best part of it. It depends on who you ask. It's
a moral quandary.
And that's sort of what Spellwind's really been full of right now, is a lot of moral quandary, because we have two sides of the same coin in a party together, where they're constantly, and that's always sort of feeds the drama. We have 2 guards. We have pretty much essentially 2 stormtroopers, and then we have 2 rebels. We have 2 Empire and 2 rebels from Star Wars, and they're in the same party trying to figure out how to live and how to survive this world. So at some point, and at multiple points, there's going to be a lot of drama. So even just with that tidbit of like that sort of knowledge, how and what can you place in front of them that will then get them talking about their own histories, about the problem and the issue. What they have noticed a lot in the world, or in the kingdom of Evervale, which is the surrounding areas of the campaign, is there has been a lot of capturing of different magical creatures to then power or fund or exploit something of theirs for the human empire benefit. The one being let's say, capturing a fire elemental to power a forge, or or capturing a water elemental to power a dam, and things like that, where there's a lot of interesting, and that's called spellkin. People who are of magic, and this is also something we didn't talk about at Spellwind. People who are of magic, who know how to cast magic, who are people of magic and like sorcerers and
Right.
warlocks and priests, or even people who, or even monsters and beasts who know magic innately. They're all called spellkin. And right now, Evervale is doing a crusade to rid the world of spellkin,
Oh.
unless they bend the knee towards the God King. And by doing that, they make their pilgrimage over to Evervale, and they get an arcane magic mark on their face, and then they are known as marked. So everybody knows that they are sanctioned to use their magic for the God King and in the God King's grace. So
Nothing fishy there.
nothing weird
Nothing
there
weird.
at all.
No, nothing
So,
to be concerned about.
yeah. So you could see why that there is a rebellion faction and a rebellion sect known as the Entente who are trying to stop this. And so there's a lot of different spellkin being utilized and exploited for the benefit of the human of the human people. So there's a lot of drama that goes into that. And I think a lot of prep usually goes around what can make them think. How can we get one or two players or characters to then think and feel bound or inspired by this encounter. There was a large encounter that happened. I could probably say multiple encounters that happened that usually touch upon a player or a character's sense of compassion. If you know that there is strong compassion players, then maybe there's a moral conundrum that you could present to everyone and then see how all of them react toward it. You don't need to have an outcome.
Right.
And many of the times that I present them with anything, I don't have an outcome. There is a character in episode 1 that is still in the episodes now named Captain Buttocks. He's a large ogre. He has 2 heads. One of them was his twin brother that's been removed by the Sworn because his brother was a sorcerer. So his head was removed, and he now has a large scar that goes from his ear down to his shoulder.
Wow.
And he's covered in tattoos, and he hates the Sworn. The Sworn, of course, are the guard, clandestine guard of Evervale and the God King. So Captain Buttocks was just sort of there for episode 1. But 14, 15 episodes later, he's still around because I presented him in episode 1, and the players did everything they could to keep him around and to save him in all these positions. So he's been this tag-along NPC, which is something I didn't plan on. I just sort of had him there to help sort of drive some narrative in episode 1, help everybody out and get them on their
I call those mouthpiece. I was like, this is a mouthpiece NPC.
Yeah, he was in a mouthpiece NPC. Then now he's a travel party NPC.
Oh man, the times that happens.
Yeah, and they're like, well, in combat, they're like, where's Captain Buttocks? When's his turn? I was like, he ran off. Okay, I haven't even made stats for him. He's just like, that's just become the meme where Captain Buttocks he gets irritable bowel syndrome every time there's a combat or something. Yeah, he's just, gonna go. And he's,
I love that.
Yeah, really.
So really it's about a lot of listening, right? Because you have to like listen to what your players are, and their characters are like kind of nibbling on and like leaning into.
It always is, listening and reaction.
Yeah, and that reaction of because again, just a mouthpiece NPC is now Captain Buttocks, so.
Yeah, active listening is a very big deal. It's a very big deal, both in any relationship, but also in your tabletop games and your storytelling, because you need to be able to start picking up on when these characters start to break down in different scenes and what is breaking them here and there. What is the weakness of the character? Not necessarily, or I shouldn't say weakness, but where are their weaker points, and where are their stronger points, where are their flaws, and not necessarily exploit those flaws because that could be a bit evil, but how can you at least tickle them a bit so they can at least have some sort of reaction.
Yeah. It's like a consequence of having. I mean, flaws are. Okay, so my favorite part of building a character is choosing their flaws, right?
Is having flaws.
Yeah, you have to have flaws because that's where conflict comes in, and
Otherwise,
you don't
they're
have
not a
story
character.
without conflict, right? So, yeah, it's not a character, and I'm like, give me those flaws. How many can I have? You know?
Yeah.
To make
Always.
things interesting.
Always. I love more flaws, the better. And that's the truth. Then you'll be like, wait, but I may have a character that sucks. Yeah, and that's an awesome story.
Now I have some buy-in.
That has
you know what I
overcome
mean?
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're perfect, you have nowhere to go, except for down, which is a story in itself. I tell people, a lot of people are like, I always hate the like glorified paladin role, you know? And I'm like, well, sometimes the story is actually about watching that paladin like humble themselves, which often happens when their beliefs are challenged.
That's their flaw.
That's their flaw, is that they don't believe that they could be wrong or that their beliefs could be challenged. And so, you know, they still have a flaw. You just have to find it because every character's viable, right, in that regard. So love it. Yes. Well, we are wrapping up here near the end of the interview. Usually we take a Q&A, but because we're coming to you from the past in the future, we can't quite do that. But this has been
for a very good reason.
For very, very good reason, because right now, Spellwind is actually happening.
Whoa.
So, surprise, we will be rating after this, the show. But tell people when you're not literally right now over on Spellwind.
Yep.
Which is over on Table Story, where they can find you, maybe what you're doing, anything cool new coming up.
Sure. Yes. So new and cool things coming up is hard to say because of the past-time weird wibble wobble we have going on. The void magic that we are casting this in. See. But and we got there.
Full circle.
We made it. What do I have coming up? I've got a really cool project coming up that I'm keeping sort of under my hat. I'm very excited for. All I could say is keep your ears to the ground. Follow my Twitter. I am sort of going pretty hard into, and isn't that a phrase? I'm going pretty hard into investing into a really big project, and I'm super excited about it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And it's just like my first big jump into something huge. So I'm pretty excited for that, and like really being like producer of something big. And I'm excited for it.
Nice.
So that's for the future. But as for on the meantime, you can follow me over on Twitch, where I stream a lot of my video game stuff. I do a lot of Mortal. I played Mortal Online today, and I'll probably be doing a lot more of it.
Nice.
Where I play a weaponsmith. I also play a gunsmith in Red Dead, and several other characters in the Red Dead world and server of Wild RP. So if that's something you're interested in, come check me out. I play also an evil puppeteer character, puppet master character named the Barman, who right now is trying to keep his operations going from in prison. So I'm trying to see how that works. So if that's something you're interested in, a lot of cerebral RP happens over there.
That's cool.
And some really cool cinematic character development. So if that's something you're interested in, come check me out over on my channel. Check me out on Table Story, where we do a lot of great stuff, and there's some really wonderful stories being told over there. Check me out on Twitter for everything and anything all of the time.
Right.
So that's me. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming to chat. This was a really GM to GM is always nice to just like have a. I interview a lot of writers and content contributors, but it's really nice to be with a GM and get to
It's so nice being a GM.
It's so nice.
Like I've been identifying myself as a GM for years. All right, like for like 20 years since I've been playing, because I've always been the GM. But the past like 5 years, I've been playing on different channels. So I feel like being in the identifying now into the internet space and the TTRPG space as a GM is so freeing to be like,
I am free of your shell.
Yeah, I'm finally back into being a GM and a DM and a storyteller in this, and it's been wonderful.
That's great.
Yes,
yeah, well,
you.
we're going to go check it out. So all of you stick around for the raid and all that jazz. Make sure you show a ton of love from Kobold Press when you get there, and hopefully you'll get to see one of our beasts in action. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I feel possibly really bad
I'll
for
figure
the
something
players.
out. When is this coming out? Yeah, I'll get you a beast.
Today would be December 29th. This is me telling
Okay.
telling your future.
Telling my future. So this is a wonderful challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wednesday,
I don't know where they're
December
going to
29th.
be. Yeah.
We're going to be on Kobold Press
We're
right
going to be
now.
like in a throne room. Yeah. Throne room and talking to someone. And then like, I've got to figure out how to put a beast in here.
How do I make this happen?
How
My
exciting.
ears are burning. Todd's talking
I'll
about
do
me
it.
somewhere.
I'll do it.
All right,
We'll
y'all.
figure it
Well,
out.
we're going to go raid, show all of your love. If you are here today, thanks so much for being here. We're coming up on a new year. 2022, let's wipe clean 2021, start over. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming to the channel in 2022 for Kobold Press, which I'm sure we'll have plenty of Kobold chats about, but new Kickstarters are coming to the channel. I can't spoil too much about that. New shows will be coming to the channel, including a mini painting show. So if you like to paint minis, you can come paint some Kobold Press minis, like our
And I do
beastie
love
minis.
painting minis.
I'm very excited. So I imagine Myth will have to come back and join us. And if nothing else, you can always
I'll do it.
Myth over on Courts of the Shadow Fae, where we had 2 seasons. Hit our YouTube, catch up on some of his incredible RP, along with another great cast of folks. And right now, we're going to watch you go from, character to GM.
Yeah.
Because you're over there just killing it. I know it. You're over there killing
Thank
it.
you. Thank you from the past.
Yeah. Yes, of course, of course. All right, everybody. Have a great new year, and we will see you in 2022. Bye-bye.